Welcome to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life Radio Hour and Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and today in the co-host chair today is Dr. Tra Ahia. Dr. Tra Ahia is the author of the best-selling book, Call Me an Addict, War in Women, Doctor of Psychology, lecturer, teacher, coach. And today we are going to unpack the topic, how to recognize ADHD in adults. Welcome again, Dr. Tra.
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, Dr. Tra is battling a cold, so thank you again, for coming on and when you're not 100%. But I know that even your 90% is going to be above what I'm expecting. So thank you again.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. All right. So once again, we are going to be talking today about how to recognize ADHD in adults. And the topic of ADHD, whether it's in adults or children, it's part of Dr. Tra's specialty. So we definitely want to hear what she has to say on it. But I did some research on my own, and, this is my intro to the topic. Now, we've seen or been parents to the child who never stops or sits down. In addition to never sitting down, they are also impulsive, have trouble focusing, have trouble managing their emotions, have difficulty remembering information. They either don't start tasks or they don't finish them. Me personally have always associated ADHD with children, but statistics show that ADHD transforms with age but does not necessarily go away. So I wanted to know how it feels to be in a relationship with someone with ADHD. So this is a story from one woman that I found online. And this woman also has ADHD, and what she's saying is that she loves being with ADHD men because she knows what she's getting into. And she says she's dated 4 men, either with ADHD or ADD. She says one of them was predominantly hyperactive, so I guess he was one of those bouncing around ones. 2 were inattentive, and 1 likely mixed. Now, she says that she falls under the vagueness of mixed herself, which means that she has characteristics of hyperactivity, impulsiveness, the occasional nonstop talk, making rash decisions, inattention, fuzziness, the daydreaming and drifting off mid-conversations, etc. But she learned some tricks to deal with ADHD men early on in life. And one of them I like, she says, when you're trying to get the attention of every man and he's not paying you any attention, then you take your hand and you put it on his face and you move his face and, which is a universal signal for, hey, let's make eye contact. I'm talking to you when he begins to drift off. So that was one of the ways that she brought them back when they're not paying attention. And 2 of the men that she dated, she considered them inattentive. And inattentive meant that they naturally tended towards household chaos and an inability to finish projects and a desperate need for legal stimulants. I'm assuming coffee, energy drinks, that kind of stuff. But she says understanding is the key to calming the chaos in a relationship if you're working with a hyperactive partner. So, all right, so let's bring on the expert. So one of the first things that I'm curious about, Dr. Tra, is are all adults that have ADHD had it as a child? Can we develop ADHD as adults, or does it always progressively transform from children to adulthood?
So, for clarity, let's make sure people understand the acronym. A is for attention, D is deficit, H is hyperactivity, and the D stands for disorder. So, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Individuals can also have attention deficit disorder without the hyperactivity. One of the things to keep in mind about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is that, yes, you can, from a childhood, have this disorder, and about 60% grow up still having the same symptoms. One of the interesting pieces about this is that it's important for folks not to misconstrue the information about what they're seeing the adult exhibit. So you might exhibit certain characteristics of an individual that truly has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but they might not actually have the disorder. So that's really key to understand. People tend to embrace disorders without an accurate diagnosis.
True. Yeah, okay. So 60% of the children that have ADHD transfers into adulthood. So there's 40% of them that don't. So the 40% that don't, is that because medication helps, or does something happen in your brain that you can, fix that your brain, fixes it?
No, it's not that. When you talk about the 40%, it's not that for one thing or another, those behaviors might have been, minimized or reduced.
Okay.
So that's important to understand as well. The fact that about 60% of the people who still exhibit those symptoms might be because they're just in touch with what's been going on with them, or they might actually have an accurate diagnosis.
Okay. All right. So go ahead.
That's folks who, as children, some kids tend to outgrow it. A lot of people outgrow it. So that could be the 40% of people who I just outgrew it. I've learned strategies on how to behave or how to compensate for the symptoms that, I would be diagnosed with ADHD. So that's another part to remember as well.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So you learn to control it, and you, and your brain will probably, because we all, our body has this homeostasis way that, it always knows the best place to get back to. So if you start working and controlling it, then I guess you can, because I was reading something as well where there's several entrepreneurs that had ADHD that learned to manage it and made it work for them. So yeah, you can always, instead of letting something beat you, you learn to control it and reduce or minimize the symptoms, even though it's not totally gone. Awesome. So so that means that, one of the questions I had here is if it can go away without medication. So I think we just answered that it can go away without medication if you just learn how to control your symptoms of it, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Now, is there different forms, different types of ADHD? I know that we've got the ADD and they have the ADHD, but is there different forms of that?
Well, there's different types of attention deficit. Usually when you look at the diagnostic and statistical manual that we use, it gives you a clarity on how it's diagnosed, the criteria. And with the diagnostic and statistical manual now, it's a little bit more defined in terms of the specific criteria for it. So, yeah, there are different types. Okay, the predominant symptoms, the three types of symptoms that we see that are common are the inattention, the impulsivity, and the hyperactivity. So that's primarily what people tend to notice. Oh, the person has this, that, or the other. So that's key. So just having individuals understand the type of inattention or any of those symptoms is very helpful in treating it as well. But before an individual even claims or says they has or accepts the diagnosis, really you have to go through a process. And a lot of individuals are failing to go through the process and are merely diagnosing themselves or their children or anyone else with the disorder. So you have to first rule out certain things. Sometimes people don't have the appropriate amounts of minerals in their body, or they might be subject to low levels of magnesium or iron or things like that, or people might have other diseases that might mimic, or thyroid issues that might mimic attentive symptoms. So I always encourage clients to go and get these things ruled out first, do blood work to just make sure that this is exactly what you have. And then the person who's doing the assessing and the diagnosis can certainly then treat them accordingly. A lot of folks tend to say that, we're going to use medication, and that's because physiologically there's a chemical imbalance in the system, and as in layman's terms. So that's why the initial jump to the go-to fix is, or I call it the go-to cover-up, is medication.
Meaning that it doesn't help anything? It just covers it up or masks the symptoms a little bit?
It just masks them and makes the individual manageable.
As you were talking, right?
Go ahead.
No, as you were talking, something just popped in my head, and I'm not sure why it didn't pop in before. I guess maybe because I was concentrating on adults. But, my kids been diagnosed with ADHD, and they have a huge problem with impulse control. It's bad enough that it's gotten them in a lot of trouble because and they actually had medication specifically geared to the impulse control. We all think that, ADHD means that when you're in school, you can't concentrate on your work because you're fidgeting, you're getting up every 5 seconds to go to the bathroom or something. But the impulse control situation is very, very troubling as well.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, especially when it usually surfaces. We usually diagnose it when a person is in school. So, and should the education process be modified to accept the differences in children, or should the children be modified to be successful at in the education arena? That's the big question. And for me, I think that the academic arena should be modified and adjusted to accept the differences in the children.
Yeah. A bit harder to put into practice, but I understand what you're saying because everybody learned differently and all that. No?
It's not harder.
Okay.
It's really not hard at all. Not at all.
Yeah, all right. So I'm sure you have some ideas.
Training and acceptance, and some folks who agree with the mission, and everyone doesn't learn the same way.
Yeah, we definitely know that. Yeah, we definitely know that. It's true. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we've got a great start to set the foundation. Let's take our first break, and then when we come back, we're gonna look at ADHD a little deeper in how it shows up in adults. Specifically, we want to help the women that are listening that maybe might have an ADHD partner. So that's basically what I'm trying to impart today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and then we'll dive deeper. Be right back.
Hello, everyone out there. Just wanted to take a brief moment to share with you a major credit secret that most people are not even aware of that can help you with your credit needs. In this day and age, I think we all know how important good credit is and how credit is tied to everything we do, from buying a house, a car, a job, an apartment, insurance. Virtually everything comes down to your credit history. The problem is, many of us have made mistakes or just run into circumstances beyond our control dealing with credit. The good news is that secondcreditprofile.com can help you legally establish a new personal or business credit profile. This is the biggest secret that credit agencies don't want you to know about. I encourage you to check out secondcreditprofile.com for more information. That is secondcreditprofile.com. We all use Facebook and Messenger to keep in touch. But the problem with these apps is that they're heavy on the data. So what happens sooner or later is that you run out of free space and you have to delete some stuff, like your favorite photos and videos. So this is where the app called Mackie shines. Mackie is a single app with both Facebook and Messenger, and it is also more than 10 times smaller. And that's not all. Mackie also allows you to remove Facebook ads in your newsfeed. Plus, protect your eyes at night with dark mode. Search for Mackie, that is M-A-K-I, in the Google Play to get it for free now. Or use the link on the show page, blog.myhelps.us, to download.
Are you a high-achieving woman of color who struggles with imposter syndrome, procrastination, and self-sabotage? Are you tired of going to bed each night hoping that tomorrow will be a better day, only for it to be more of the same? Are you sick of empty affirmations that make you feel good but don't actually lead to change? And are you over being shamed and yelled at to do the work with no insight as to how to get it done? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then friends, this podcast is for you. Search Productive on Purpose in your favorite podcast app and listen today. Oh, and if you struggle with procrastination, go to planning.productivepurpose.com to download your free Planning for Procrastinators guide. It's time to start walking in our purpose, y'all.
Hi, my name is Shaniqua, and I'm the proud owner of Sunny Hair Care. This is the organic line aiming to promote and maintain healthy hair in the African American community. I personally hand-fill and label each bottle to perfection just for you guys. Please check out my website at sunnyhairproducts.myshopify.com, and please follow us on Instagram at sunnyhaircare. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour and podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and in the co-host chair today is Dr. Tra Ahia, Doctor of Psychology, lecturer, teacher, coach, and author of the best-selling book, Call Me an Addict, War on Women. And we are going to be talking today on ADHD in adults and how you can recognize it. So in the first segment, Dr. Tra led the foundation of what is ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. She mentioned that 60% of the children continue into adulthood with all the major symptoms of ADHD, and the 40% might be either totally cured or minimalized. And she talked about one of the three main evidence that you have ADHD is inattention, impulse control, and hyperactivity. So now I want to ask Dr. Tra, what exactly is happening in the brain to cause someone to develop symptoms of attention deficit hyperactive disorder?
So we can think of it, I like to have it broken down maybe into 4 specific areas of the brain: the prefrontal cortex, basal ganglia, the limbic system, and then the reticular activating system. And I always think about neurotransmitter deficits. So in the prefrontal cortex, we know that's responsible for how we organize, our cognitive flexibility, being able to control ourselves and our things that come into our frame of reference, maintaining our attention. The basal ganglia helps to regulate communication within the brain, sending signals from one neuron or dendrite to the other. And it's responsible for our motor control, our facilitating our movement and inhibiting competing movements. And then our limbic system is responsible for regulating our emotions. A deficiency in this region might result in restlessness, inattention, or emotional volatility. Our reticular activating system is our major relay system among the many pathways that enter and leave the brain that is responsible for arousal and consciousness. So imagine a deficiency in this region, of course, then you'd notice inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. So that's just an overview for me of how it affects the brain, and that might help some of the listeners understand that.
So what I think I heard you say, though, is because I always thought it was a prefrontal cortex problem, but you mentioned that it's part of the prefrontal, it's part of, it looks like it covers them all, because for everything that you mentioned, there's a little bit of it, right? Is that what happens?
So, well, yeah, the basal ganglia, that's kind of located, if you just think about your temporal area. Mm-hmm. The limbic system is just kind of to the rear of that, and then the reticular activating system sits almost in your the lower part of your brainstem. So it's not all over your brain, but what's interesting is how it impacts the entire human's processing ability. Information that comes in, our consciousness, our ability to maintain attention, and then take away if parts of the brain are over because of the neurotransmitters. If we're receiving too much, say we're receiving too much dopamine, then there's going to be an issue with how we respond to certain things that enter into our frame of reference or enter into our consciousness, and it would limit our ability to respond appropriately.
Wow. Yeah, so this is, like I said, this is new information for me, because when I was researching it way back when my kids were, having really serious issues, they all talked about it being a prefrontal cortex, control, attention, that kind of thing. But yeah, the fact that it affects all four of, or not all four, but four parts of the brain. That's why it's there's some major symptoms that go along with that. But go ahead.
Yeah, and it's also important just to keep in mind that doctors, medical professionals, do not have a specific cause.
A specific what? I didn't get that.
Cause.
Cause.
Right.
Okay.
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but the research is so great and it's improving, and so it suggests these things that we're learning now. It suggests more evidence of the other parts of the brains that are being challenged by the symptoms that we're seeing, and we feel like the cause lies in the neurobiology. So we understand that there are some parts of the brain in these children they found that are smaller in our children with ADHD. Or we also understand clearly about the genetic component to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yeah, so I did hear that it's hereditary. Yeah. If you have it, then your children might have it too. Right. Okay, I did get that part right. Mm-hmm.
And not just if you have it. It's a genetic link. So it's like any other mental health, it could be like any other mental health issue. So if my grandmother had depression and I have a kid, my child is predisposed to mental health issues. So it may be that my child shows that mental health issue as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder versus the depression that my mom had or whatever.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My grandmother.
Well, yeah. Well, we had one of those sessions on the radio where you mentioned that it shows up in maybe something else. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But the last thing you said caught my attention, and it's a beautiful segue into one of my next questions that I had on here. You mentioned that, I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right, but the reticular, activation system? That's the right word? Don't you laugh at me.
I like it. You're so good at remembering the reticular activating system. Yeah,
I did say correctly. Wow, I thought you were laughing at me.
No, not at all.
Right, that's good. All right, so you talked about arousal. And one of the posts that I saw online was from Dr. Gray, who is the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And, he was one of the most successful books, way back. You don't hear that much about it, but I've had this book in my library for like over 20 years now. But he said, Dr. Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and he says that ADHD causes a lack of commitment in men. So does that sound about right to you?
No, not at all.
Okay. So where do you think he's getting that statements from? Okay.
I'd be interested in his research. I think the topic of men not committing to women, I'm not going to say that's because of attentive disorder issues. Not at all.
He's giving him a cop out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Way to go, Gray.
Well, okay. So you don't think there's any psychological thing to it, but so
I don't know. I would like to see his research. I don't know where he got that information. What would make him say that?
Well, if I were
what would make him say that?
Well, I don't remember. I just picked that part out. But if I were to use logic, it would be that if you've got ADHD, you can't pay attention to your woman, so you're not committed to her. Maybe there's no psychological proof. There's just
that's a
culture.
Very simplistic way of thinking about it. It's very simplistic. Oh, I've got ADHD. I can't attend to you, sweetie. Oh, come on.
Yeah, well, listen to that. We're going to end the show with one of the ones that he, that I had to touch on because it was really. I know you saw that, right? So maybe we should have some time to discuss that one. All right. All right. I know, right? So let's touch a little bit on the ADHD medications. So I know that, one of the things that doctors do when you take your kids for ADHD is that they put them on medication so that they can concentrate in school. Maybe they have, less impulse control. I mean, they have more impulse control and they're not bouncing around. So the drugs definitely do attend to the three main things. So as you get older, though, do you still have to control those three things, or are there different medications for adults?
Well, there's non-stimulant and stimulant meds, depending on what the parent would choose or the adult would choose. I'm not an advocate of medication, even though as a psychologist, I clearly understand how important it is, especially when folks are suffering. So I get it.
Right.
I just always think of other alternatives besides that, besides the use of pharmaceutical meds.
Okay.
So, people look at amphetamines, methylphenidates, and a psychostimulant to use that as a first-line attempt to stop it. Then their second line is first, second generations. There's off-label medications that people use. So I believe that individuals can be treated. However, to me, I would rather use a non-medication treatment to help anyone
therapy
with this disorder. Well,
like therapy
is great, but neurofeedback is even better. It's longer. It might be a little bit more expensive, but it's not invasive, and it teaches the mind. It teaches the mind how to address perhaps some of those symptoms. Whereas if you get anyone who clearly has attention deficit hyperactivity, so if you clearly have it, and they're on the medication for 6 months, one individual is taking the biofeedback, and the other person is taking the medication, and they stop the medication at the end of 6 months, which person is going to be better off without treatment? Which person?
Well, the neurofeedback, because one of the things I've learned about medication is it doesn't ever treat anything. It's just mask it, just like you just said. With anything, when I read a lot of stuff, and when people are talking about cancer and diabetes and all these health issues, the medication never cures. It just manages, right? So, this would be almost the same thing, too. The medication never cures, So as soon as you take the person off of it, right.
And there's adverse effects. So.
Yeah. Oh, yes, there's a lot of adverse effects, actually, with the medications that they, messed up my kids and their menstrual cycle and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of adverse, there's a lot of adverse effects on it. Yep. Yep. And even weight, it messed up they couldn't gain weight and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, a lot of adverse effects. So, right. All right, so one last question before we take our second break. I know that this is your that's what you do in the schools right now. You are there as the psychologist. Are they testing for ADHD in the schools now, or if you see, how do you know somebody's got ADHD? You guys test, or the parents have to individually go to a doctor?
No, schools are allowed to. They'll do like a short questionnaire or what have you to gather some data. Our strongest suggestion is to couple that with the pediatrician or the medical professionals. Also, their evaluation of the child too. So coupled with that information, then we can make the best abilities to take care of this child while they're on our campuses. So our mission at a school is not to diagnose. Our mission at a school is to find out how this person can achieve at the optimum level of their academic program that we provide. That's the idea. So we don't quote unquote diagnose. We might be able to tell you that you're eligible with these symptoms. You are eligible for this support, these accommodations, or what have you.
Got you. Right. Yes.
Okay. Schools don't diagnose. They don't get into the business of diagnosing because we're an academic environment. We're not a medical facility.
Right. Yeah, I remember my kids had the 504 thing, which gives them extra time at when they're taking tests and things like that. Right. Yep. Got it. All right, so let's take our second break, and then we come back. We're going to wrap up my conversation on the ADHD. I'm going to ask Dr. Tra something that Dr. Gray said, which is very controversial. And then I'm going to give you some tips on how to deal with it. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Keep it locked.
When it comes to eating, natural is always best, and nothing is better than growing your own food. AncientPathNaturals.com is all about sustainability, and when it comes to growing mushrooms, they are the best. With AncientPathNaturals.com, you can enjoy mushrooms cultivated at home. They make it super easy for beginners to grow their morels year after year, right in their own backyard. They offer excellent quality customer service from knowledgeable people right at their facility, and they are always happy to help customers and answer any questions you may have. These are all organic ingredients with everything fully ready to use. There is no mixing or mess. 100% great grow guarantee. They have single, 3, and 5 packs available, and morel patches will grow back larger every year. Visit their website right now to learn more. AncientPathNaturals.com. 40 years of mushroom cultivation. Always organic, always sustainable. Here to help your grow go great. AncientPathNaturals.com.
Did you start your New Year's resolutions yet? I bet there's one resolution missing that you should add right now. And that is to find a greater sense of purpose in your life. To do that effectively, you need to understand the 8 key components of living with purpose. The new book, The Meaning of Life, A Guide to Finding Your Life's Purpose by Nathaniel Garrett Novosel, is a complete step-by-step walkthrough of how humans derive meaning from their existence. This book helps you to identify what really matters to you in life, define a clear plan of going after what you want, and grow toward fulfilling your true calling. Best of all, this book does not tell you how to live your life or which goals you should have. Instead, it helps you figure it out for yourself. That's what you really want. Someone in your corner helping you make sense of your life, not someone with their own agenda telling you what to do. This book is a life changer, and I recommend that you go out and get it right now. The Meaning of Life, A Guide to Finding Your Life's Purpose by Nathaniel Garrett Novosel. Available now on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Apple Books, so order today.
Author S.M. Ford presents Memoirs of the Senator's Wife. Wealthy Xavier meets and marries impoverished Estella in college. Being a member of a prominent political family, and with the aid of a magical secret society, Xavier runs for Congress and easily wins. But Xavier's abuse and indiscretion with celebrities quickly destroy their marriage. Due to the responsibilities of motherhood and duty, Estella remains in her unhappy marriage, but finds love with her kind and gentle protector, Michael. Will Estella abandon her responsibilities to live happily ever after with Michael? Or will she remain in the glamorous and powerful world of a senator's wife? #1 international bestseller. 5 stars hot, sexy, funny, and made me cry. The story is very compelling and well-structured. A masterpiece. Goodreads review. Available now on Amazon. Contact on Twitter at twitter.com/SM4.
Welcome back to Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life Radio Hour and Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and in the co-host here today is Dr. Tra Ahia, Doctor of Psychology, author, lecturer, coach. So, in our first 2 segments, we laid out some of the foundation of ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. We talked about how it shows up in the brain. Dr. Tra explained the functions of the prefrontal cortex, the basal ganglia, your limbic systems, your reticular activation system. So we just talked about the fact that ADHD affects all four of those. So, which is why it is a disorder that goes with almost 60% of the people that are diagnosed with it enter their adulthood. So as we wrap up today, like I said, I came across an article from Dr. Gray, and he was specifically talking about men and women, that had the ADHD. And, of course, he made the comment about the ADHD men lack commitment. But he also said that internet pornography is rewiring the brain and causing ADHD in men because it blocks love and connection. So earlier in the episode, I asked Dr. Tra if you can develop ADHD as an adult, or does it always show up as when you're as a child? And she mentioned the fact that it is a mental issue. So if I were to use logic, what I think he's saying is that pornography is doing something to affect the mental health of men. That's one part. And then the second part is that it blocks love and connection. So let's spend a few moments in this, because I'm very curious to see if there's any validity in this statement, Dr. Tra.
Well, it's nice that he thinks that we could just blame attention deficit for the ills of men and the shortcomings. However, when we think about pornography in its essence, see, pornography is, first of all, it's never been as hardcore as it is today. They used to hide the covers of the magazines. It used to be done.
Yeah, I know, right? You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm. That's before the internet, child. That's when the kids used to go into the stores.
And if you got your hands on a video, a VHS tape,
mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, it was scratchy and old. So and there it was just get to it sex. So things were a little different. But now people have access in their homes. Even children have access in their homes. So porn encourages self-gratification. That's number one. Mm-hmm. So there's no more delayed gratification. It's, I don't need you, anyone. I have myself. So therefore, my partner's not going to be able to please me. So your brain becomes more and more focused on the things you find pleasurable. And the discipline of delayed gratification falls to the wayside. It becomes insignificant to you. So that's another important piece. Then, of course, porn destroys the values that you have. So the more and more you watch this, your brain tells you it's okay. Your unconscious tells you it's okay. You're not hurting anyone. Yeah. You're just doing this to yourself, and boy, does it feel good. So that gratification, that feeling that you have is incredible. One of the most resounding pieces to pornography for me is, one, that it can be one of the major causes of erectile dysfunction. It's interesting that the doctor doesn't note that. We didn't know that information.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And two is that it can escalate inappropriate sexual behaviors. It can escalate those inappropriate
against women, because he thinks every woman is like a porn star, right? Okay, got it.
No, that's not why. That's not why a person would think that. But I mean, trust me when I tell you, I've sat on panels at facilities, prison facilities, interviewing sexual offenders. And one of the major issues they talk about is the age at which they started self-stimulation, at the age at which they started it via pornography, and how it escalated over a short period of time, which wound them.
I got you.
The fourth thing about this whole porn is that it encourages isolation, social isolation. Why do I need to even go out and meet someone, and I can just sit here and look at this video and forget the idea. Magazines. We used to have magazines, but now I can actually even be interactive with someone via the internet.
Yeah.
So
So I guess the last statement that he made, it blocks love and connection. That's definitely true. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because it blocks love, right? You've got this. Yeah. Right. So what about the rewiring the brain part? Does it really rewire the brain?
Well, sure. Behaviors that we have, behaviors that we have involved ourselves in over a period of time, like any habit, can rewire our brain, and it can, it certainly can ruin.
Okay, got you.
Parts of our brain that would be helpful to us. So,
right.
You understand about the neuroplasticity of the brain. It can change. Of course, it can change.
Okay. So yes. So that was. So you agreed with his statements, and right. Yeah, and we definitely have to do a segment on yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. I just haven't put it together, and that is the sexual dysfunction, whatever I think we want to call it. So we definitely have to bring that on. All right. So in my research, I found some shocking facts about ADHD, and I just want to leave that with you guys. It says 1 out of 10 American children have been diagnosed with ADHD. I'm not sure why it specifically talked about American children. I don't know if there's a difference. I would think that 1 in 10 children, period, right?
It's no.
It's American?
Countries, yeah, because other countries are not as keen on it at diagnosing their children with disorders like Americans are.
Okay. Right. All right. So this one, baffled me, so I definitely want you to comment on that. It says that 1 out of 7 American women over 55 will develop dementia. So what is I think just as I'm about to ask the question, I get it. Well, no, I don't, because dementia is not a mental illness, is it?
So not necessarily do we see it as a mental illness, and perhaps if we did, we'd think about its effects on our cognitive ability. So when we talk about cognition, of course, then we're talking about our psychological well-being.
Okay.
So that's why I believe an individual would say that about, that disorder.
Okay. All right. Got you. All right. Statistics also reveal a greater risk of ADHD in children of divorced parents, particularly when boys are missing the regular influence of their fathers or their mothers are unable to find happiness. So, again, I guess environment always plays a role in these things, right?
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Yes. Environment, right.
The men better get their acts together. If you don't have a father, then you can become a gay person. If you don't have a father, you can develop ADHD. If you don't have a father,
Wow.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And that is very prevalent in the Black community, right?
Not just in the Black community, not just in the African American community. It's not specific to a community. It's overall human beings. People don't understand the importance of having a male. Whoever I gave birth to you, I've carried this child with me since I could create. Your mom carried it for 9 months. We created this beautiful being together. Now I don't like her. I'm going to leave her.
Yeah.
And
not only am I leaving her, but I'm leaving you too. That's basically happens because you don't really care if they leave the mothers. But yeah.
They're talking about a young man who we are familiar with, and I have to do more research to find out if this is actually true. And he made a remark about his son. And there are several noted people who have left their children. And 50 Cent is the young man that I'm referring to. And I was so surprised to hear that the son Marquise, that he would mistreat his son. And I talk about mistreatment by not allowing his son to remain in his life through his adulthood. So it's unfortunate that men don't understand the importance of that. It has nothing to do with the person you fathered this. It's you as the dad. Doesn't matter what you're going through with the mom. You don't have to get along with her per se. Yeah. But you have a responsibility to that young person. That's your seed. That's your seed.
But we always do what we see. And you would be surprised. I'm not sure you, and I shouldn't say you would be, because you were connected and you're grounded and you're in that space. But I am surprised the amount of stars, basketball, movie stars or whatever that didn't have dads in their life. That didn't have dads in life. And maybe if you look in 50 Cent's story, maybe he didn't have one either. So tons of them. I thought you were going to start with LeBron James or even he didn't have a father either. Lots of those, right? Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of dads who are wealthy. A lot of dads who are wealthy. When I think of a star, I think of people like you and me. We're the stars. But they just tend to have money.
Right. Yes.
They have money.
Household names, stars. Nobody knows us.
Oh, people know us. People know exactly. And if one person knows us,
that's enough, right?
That's right.
I like the way you think. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, so we're almost at the end of the show. I want to thank you for staying until the end. My last comments is from what I've learned from researching this topic is that if you have a partner that has ADHD, don't be quick to judge them for their shortfalls. Understand it's a chemical imbalance. Understand that they can help it, and instead maximize the good, because everybody has good and everybody has bad. And minimize the bad, and maybe try to be their helpmate. The story of the girl that said that she likes, dealing with ADHD men because she was also ADHD. She talked about how they help each other. When she is bad, then somebody pulls her up and say, hey, you got to get this done, kind of thing. So work as a partnership. Any last words on how adults in ADHD relationships can cope, Dr. Tra?
How people can cope in their relationships is to be accepting, be tolerant of each other's differences. Yeah. And if you are struggling with that, try not to bring that person down. Leave them alone so they can go on with their life.
Yeah. Good. So we're seeing the same thing. All right. So I want to thank Dr. Tra for taking the time to talk with us today, even though she's not doing well, and sending her total blessings and quick healing for her her selfless work. To get a transcript of this episode and links to our sponsors, head over to blog.myhelps.us. If you'd like to contact Dr. Tra Ahia for any of her services, you can visit her on the web at forlifeservices-cc.com, and that is forlifeservices-cc.com. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Dr. Tra?
Happy well-being to everyone. Do your best to live your best life.
Okay, all right, thanks. I wanted to know if you wanted to enhance in any of your For Life services.
Oh, well, I do lectures and I write manuals for my attendees on this very topic. The latest one is ADHD and Me, medication-free for adults and children.
Nice. Wow, that's beautiful.
Okay. So, that's out and about, and if people are interested in that seminar, it will be on the web. It can be face-to-face. So I'll offer people the opportunity to learn more about this disorder and how to correctly have it diagnosed. I have a lot of information about how to accurately diagnose it.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. So that link is on the For Life Services, or do you want to send me so I can put it on the blog?
Oh, no, they can contact me through the link that you just, the website that you just talked about.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right. All right, awesome. Well, yeah, that should be anybody that's listening that have either an ADHD relationship or ADHD kids and want some more information on it, then definitely this is something that you should get. All right, so just want to remind you to subscribe and review the Transform Your Mind podcast so you can be notified of new episodes. So thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Tra, again. Hope you feel better soon. So until next, you're welcome. Until next time, namaste.